Ice Spear rework. See, I didn't see that yet. So let's watch the Ice Spear rework video thing. Interesting. Another ability balanced around the delay. The upcoming 3.5 update will feature a reworked Ice Spear among other cold spell improvements. Ooh. The skill still arms after traveling a short distance, but instead of piercing before it arms, it now pierces after arming. It now has a bonus critical strike multiplier while armed as well, further enhancing its damage, and the projectiles move much faster once armed. But instead of piercing before it arms, it now pierces after arming, so it doesn't pierce when it's arming? What? Why? So if I just hit something with this, it's just gonna do... Like, it looks pretty cool. I wish we could see the cursor so that we could see the mechanic of it. But the fact that it doesn't pierce here is really weird, because it's already a delayed ability. Why the hell would it be, like, delayed like this? I don't know how big of a fan of this change I am. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of any work on Ice Spear in general, but like, why add the pierce if you're still gonna need the pierce no matter what, unless you literally want it to be like only a dedicated single target and that's it? But then why, if that's the case, then why would you make it so that you can move around the spread depending on where your cursor is? You can chain fork it. Yeah, but that doesn't really work well either, because even if you chain it and then it pierces after it arms, it just isn't good. It does shotgun. I don't think the early ones do. Like, these ones can hit multiple times like a barrage, which it's not really shotgun. I mean, it is. Like, that would be the point of it, right? I don't know. It's so weird. I really wish we could see the cursor here. If these are just like randomly doing this now, or is this last sequence of them just like really focused fire? But yeah, you're gonna have to get pierced for this either way. And like, if they wanted to prevent shotgunning in the early stages, why would it still work like barrage? Like, it just doesn't really make sense. I don't get it. Like, it's so slow. Right? Like, don't get me wrong, it's gonna be okay, but if it's gonna have a downside, I just don't know if abilities like this work in PoE anymore, because it has a downside, which is it being delayed and not being able to pierce with the initial stage, but it has also a massive upside, which is the critical strike chance and the critical strike multiplier now, and probably also a pretty significant increase in damage. But then, like, you've got the control of the spread, which interacts really oddly with that, and you can't purely use it as a barrage thing. But barrage is kind of lame that it's only a single target ability. But if you want like more AoE, then you can also take the threshold jewel route. I don't know. It's design's pretty confusing. I just don't know if... Yeah, people just prefer like way more balanced out abilities, I think. Unless you can just make it so that it is delayed and you get pierce in the for the early stages, and then it's fine. In which case it can work both as AoE and as a single target. And it's kind of like what well, this would be exactly what old Freeze Pulse is, except, well, yeah, it benefits the longer it travels rather than getting worse the longer it travels, which was the case for old Freeze Pulse, which I'm okay with as a concept, but that also just makes it like an EK that you can focus fire single target, and it wouldn't be much good for anything else. Like, it's tricky. It's a tricky thing. I don't think it's going to be that great, but I think it's definitely going to be better than what it is right now. I mean, not every skill needs to have like every functionality and make all the sense in the world. Be nice for bossing, that's it. Yeah, I mean, depending on how much damage it does, sure. It could be nice for bossing, but making a skill that's nice for bossing, that's it. Well, okay, so another thing in this, just so we clarify, even if the skill is like only good for bossing, right? The Ice Spear. They did say that they are reworking a lot of abilities, a lot of cold abilities. So maybe they're reworking cold abilities in a way that would promote the use of a separate single target. In which case the Ice Spear would make a lot more sense, because we know that GGG is a fan of like people gearing their characters through, you know, Elder and Shaper art items and all this sort of stuff. So if they're going to go with like, well, there's a lot of AoE Ice Nova type of shit when it comes to cold spells, right? Vortex, Ice Nova, where they just need a single target. But I don't know if taking the same approach as old bows had would be good either. Where if we assume that Freeze Pulse is fine right now, which it is, it's actually good. Except the fact that mechanically it's kind of, it just gets stuck on things, which is shit. Then yeah, they would basically make it just a separate single target and all that. But then it would be a literal, if you wanted to make it exactly that without having to control it at all, because it's only dedicated for single target that isn't in front of you, because you wouldn't be picking up like Pierce if you're playing an Ice Nova build, then why the hell would you add the spread? Only to make it not as similar to Barrage as it initially might seem. Like, it's weird. But again, we don't have the full idea, and not every ability has to have like every functionality in the world and has to work individually as its own thing. But again, the fact that they're doing things, I'm a massive fan of reworks. And I think especially reworks like these, because we had a huge argument on Bay Class about like removing abilities from the game. And I've made that point in the past too, about how you don't need to remove Incinerate, just improve it and then add another ability that would be what the Incinerate is currently, and then that way you have more abilities. I like that sort of stuff, but when it comes to abilities like Ice Spear, they were so severely outdated that you literally couldn't do anything with them. Therefore, these sort of reworks are the best reworks that they can come up with.